Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Waihiga Kemi2. Good.
Pardon, I just
You.
heard something that was a bit noisy on the side.
Thank you. Please say hello.
Hi guys. I'm Nina Mtanu. I'm an author, emerging author and poet, and I was very lucky to have Leah ask me to be able to collate Teddy's work that he did a lot in high school and also the work that he did all growing up. And this project that we called Art Spleen into Vietnam War was really beautiful and well articulated. So I feel very honored to have been a person who was able to see his talent and see how great and skilled an artist he was even at a young age. And I'm grateful to be here today to be able to share this with you guys, so thank you
Th-
very much.
Thank you very much, Nina. Leah, would you like to say something? Just an introduction of
Hello,
yourself.
everyone. Yep. Hello. My name is Leah Waihiga. I'm to the genius artistic Ted Waihiga. Ted was my son. Uh, Talking about his work, he was quite from the word go. He started in Kenya, in Nairobi. Then I brought him to Australia at the age of around 6. He continued from the word go. He could see, he could, you could demonstrate his artistic skills, and that continued all the way. And I could see it all the way, including all the teachers. They could see his talent. When he was going to high school, they were going to put him in a special school of artistic, but I opted to a stream school where he can get other skills. That continued all the way. My desire is to see his legacy of his artwork seen by other people and learn from him, because he worked so hard on his work and his beautiful work.
Thank you very much for that. Leah, if you would like me to ask, what do you do yourself? Maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself, apart from being related to Teddy.
Oh, well, I'm a nurse. I was initially educated in Kenya. I was educated in a college called, it was called MTC. It was in Nakuru. They were only training nurses that were called community health nurses, which was 3 years and a half. And then I qualified that. I was posted into Kericho Hospital. I didn't like the place. So after 5 years, I left it. I came to Gatondo Hospital. And then from there, we decided thinking I should venture and go overseas. So I went to Australia. While I was in Australia, I advanced my education. I went to university and I qualified with Bachelor of Nursing. And then from there, I did my graduate year for 1 year and a postgraduate. Then I ended up in a hospital called Kaburini Hospital. It's in a suburb called East Morven. It's in Melbourne. So I've been working there for the last 19 years. I love the place. While I'm there in a medical ward, I'm one of the state managers there for the last 15 years. I love my job, and I've always been wanted to be a nurse.
Thank you very much. What about you, Nina? What can you tell us about yourself and the work that you do, apart from being very key in contributing into Teddy's works?
At the moment, I've got two different professions. Professionally, career-wise, it's pathology, and I love that job. But mostly, the one thing that I enjoy that goes in tandem with this is being an author and also doing poetry. I was an emerging poetry lover, but I haven't done that in a long time. It's more of, for me now, just writing poetry and sharing it on my blog, writewriter.wordpress.com.au, and I'm also working on a poetry book that I'm hoping to publish next year. But along with that, I do the long prose fiction. And for those who don't know, I do romance. I write romance, and it's not just any kind of romance. Because when I was reading a lot of those books about over 10 years ago, I realized that we didn't have any books that were written for Africans, by Africans, about love and romance and any of that kind of domain, and I realized that, well, if we had something missing or we had very little of it that we could show, I thought, well, why not join, the people who are doing that? And at the moment, when I look online, I find that there are more people who are writing for that particular domain and that particular subgenre. So romance is something that should be celebrated universally, but because of the gatekeeping, we realize a lot of the times it's not something that is spoken about or is celebrated in our communities a lot or shown in a very bright light. So I thought, well, if we can empathize with people through stories, we can understand them better. So I'm very happy to be a Kenyan who is in Australia, and I'm writing about African stories and about romance and about love. And we're getting, the atmosphere to change, because we have to channel that change and we have to be the change makers in order to make sure that we see the change that we want to see, and we want to see the change that we want to experience for us and for the younger generation, but even celebrate the older generation who's come before us and maybe the one led to show that part of themselves.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about we're actually connecting with the diaspora. Today is a diaspora session, and we're talking about the life and times of Teddy Ephraim Waihiga, who was a remarkable Kenyan-Australian born artist. And we'd just like to look through his work, some of his works. But even before we do that, Leah, if you don't mind, what can you tell us? Why did you even want to do this in the first place? Why did you want to share Teddy's work? Of all the things you could have done, you wanted to remember him through his work, and you wanted him remembered and celebrated through his work. Why was that?
Well, I didn't want his work to be out there because I thought by letting Teddy's work be out there, it will be a good encouragement for the young living in diaspora and also living in Kenya. Graphic design and artistic is an industry that is just starting to be well understood by many people. Some people are still trying to find out what really graphic design is. It took me a while. My son educated me a lot because I mean nothing. Design and artistic people. Sometimes, as I've gone with the journey with Teddy, I find that didn't quite not understood well. But when you think about it, actually it's a talent that they are born with. And if only you can, that talent can be seen by other artists. And the work he did, and how he did his work, and especially the work that he did of a project called the Vietnam into Vietnam War. That is the one that we have produced a book with my friend Nina. It tells exactly how he connects his artistic work and what he relates with the pictures of the war, and he relates that with how he created the artistic work due to what happened in the war. So the ingenious work of what he put there, I think it's very encouraging, and I think it is work that needs to be out there for other young people, because even in Australia, I can already see especially in the African community, I can see they are already, like if you go to the Kenyan community website, where I see a few artistic children, and they are trying to come out with their artistic skills. It's still not quite under in that background. So if they can see who was there before them and how he connected his work and what he created into it, and also for the Africans in general, Africa in general. As for the Western, they are quite advanced in that area. Pick that talent very quickly. They venture into it. They help their children around it. We are just getting into it. And I thought Teddy's work would be very bad just to sit there, because Teddy in particular was very passionate. That's all he did. He was very passionate about his work. He had high dreams. He wanted to create a book of his own, a book that is created by him with all his own artistic work. and surely it worked. Like the last projects in New Zealand, out of the whole company, 60% was Teddy's work that he created for the company. So he really wanted to get where it will be his work and his book that will get out. And I thought, well, after he passed away, I thought I need to go through his work. I didn't know where to start. So I got somebody to educate me on what is Afranta wrote, and I would be very happy if it would help the coming generation. His legacy.
Brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant, and very, very kind of you to actually be willing to exhibit this for the public. Nina, for you, why is it important to be part of this project? I mean, nobody forced you, if I remember correctly, and nobody coerced you into it either way. So why exactly did you think it was important to be a part of this?
Looking at it from an artist's point of view, it's as an author, as a painter, be it pottery, be it anything else that you touch with your hands, and you create the idea in your head and then you create with your hands to see the idea in paper or like in a structure somewhere. When Leah said that she wanted to, get Teddy's work out there, because when she called me to her house, well, as one of the other times, because I've been to her house a few times, and then she showed me his work. There's like a pile of, big A3 papers that that have Teddy's artwork from, I think actually primary school and high school, and then after high school, and then you have more digital documented work from uni, and then when he was doing internships, and then when he was doing placements, and then when he worked for different companies, sometimes pro bono, and then when he started getting paid for it, and then he even moved overseas to New Zealand. When I looked at his work, I realized that we don't have a lot of artists who are Kenyans who are here and who are well celebrated or who are out there, other than one person that maybe I know so far who is going higher up. But then I realized that if we don't get his work out there, then we're not going to ever get someone know that he did something so beautiful and something so talented. And at the same time, we're not going to be able to help the kids who probably are stuck or they're thinking, oh, well, my artwork is not so good. It doesn't look like this, because sometimes you can compare so much and then you realize that what actually you were thinking is not good enough is actually the best thing that you could create, and someone else created something similar to yours. Because even when we were uploading some of the artwork online for this book, for the Art Clean into Vietnam War, we realized that there was someone else in another part of the world had done something similar to that, and you realize that you connect so much when you share the work of an artist, be they living or dead, because you get to show people that the talent exists, that they've done a lot of work, and you get to show the hard work. Because as an artist, sometimes you end up doing two jobs, or you end up putting so much, tears, sweat, hard work, long nights into AMs when you're doing the thing you love, and other people, sometimes even family, might not understand you because they say, you're up so late, you're up so early, and you just never stop. Because sometimes when you're in the creative mindset, you just go because it's flowing. So I was very happy to be able to see his work. And then when Leah said that she wanted to do a book or get his work out there, and then she asked me for different ways to get it out there, and I was like, well, I usually write books, but this one is artwork, and we can find a way to do that in a book, and then we can share it online, and then people can buy the book. It can be used for schools. She can do, even she can do speeches, and she can have his book there, and then people will come over and they'll look at it. They can buy copies, and they can always, have a physical copy of his talent, of his techniques that he used, and they can use it to help their kids, to help a relative, to help another artist out there. And I felt really, really honored, because it's awesome to actually see all his work and just be in awe, and then realize that you can touch them. So it's a good place to be in. It's a good person to me, and it's a great place to be able to just work with his work, even though he's not here to see it. But I'm super, super happy to have been someone that Leah felt comfortable to share that with, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to share an artist's work with someone else.
Yeah, definitely. And as we go through his work, maybe you can take us through it. For those who can see my screen, you can all see my screen.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
a young man called
I hope
Teddy.
I'll be able to remember all the descriptions, but
No, don't worry. It's more of a just a moment to do some memories through Teddy's life rather than an
okay.
intellectual composition of what we are trying to do. So don't worry. Don't worry. You don't have to go so deep into it because it's just trying to make people understand who exactly was
Okay.
Teddy and what type of work was his work. What did he do? What was he about? And
Oh, that's
just
good.
who was Teddy. So before I even continue, maybe I would like to say something small about Teddy Ephraim Waihiga, born in 5th 10th of 1985, passed away, or rather was laid to rest on 20th 5th 2019. He was a Kenyan-Australian artist. Teddy was born in Kenya, in the town of Kericho, in the province of Kericho, actually. Then we used to call them provinces. And even as a small boy, it was clear that Teddy had an aptitude for drawing and observation. Throughout his schooling, he displayed great aptitude for art. But it was in high school where his methodical approach to his artwork became. And as I would share with some of you, let me just share some of his work with you. Teddy was pretty, he was pretty cool, man. Like I look at his work and I'm like, wow, like who are you? Like, I got to know him, but then I'm like, wait, I didn't know you because your work is just something else. So, and one of his greatest piece of work was actually this artwork with the eagle, just displaying it in a few minutes.
Just a second.
And it was quite impressive. Good. Nina, you can tell me if you see it.
Yeah, just a second. Oh yeah. One of these actually this is one of the most beautiful images that you'll ever see because this one is an oil painting. I think he did a pencil sketch and then the yellow is done with oil painting over it, and it's really really beautiful because to touch it you can feel the texture of the different pencils and the different things that he used, and even with the eagles it's so brilliant to even to see it as a photo taken by phone or camera. It doesn't do it justice because the technique that he used, and it's so shiny also, but at the
Yep.
same time it's so realistic because this is the Teddy, in high school, a portrait of himself, and he did something so profound for someone so young that the first time I saw this photo it was beautiful.
Yep. I mean, looking at him right now, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
And then you look at this photo, you're like, wait, is it a photo? Is it a painting? Is it a sketch? What in the world is
it's sort
this?
of I think it's a selfie that then he emulated through sketching. And when you see this in real life, it is beautiful. It's large, and the color of it, the vibrancy of it, and the texture of it, to be able to touch it, to be able to just, interact with it, face to face. I realized that I was in the face of someone so brilliantly gifted. And I felt so bad that I had not met him so many different times to just get to know him in his, domain as an artist.
Now, Leah, if you don't mind, maybe you can tell us more about this picture because you are also very passionate about some of his works and you love this picture so much.
I do,
Please tell
I
us your
do, I do, I
please
do.
tell us your thoughts into
Wow.
it.
Okay, I have to say, the last time I saw this painting, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, this guy take a photo and basically put it there and put yellows and the eagles around him. But then it's completely a photocopy of him. So initially it was folded in a folder. And then one day I unfolded the whole folder and I saw the boy in front of me. And I thought, wow, because the real thing, the original one that I have is a very big print. It can be in one of these books. That's how big he had done it. And I was amazed. I couldn't even connect how anyone can do that. And exactly how it looks is how the boy looks. The lips, the eyes, the coolness in high school. That was, and I have to say, I was amazed. And I thought that's the most, everyone I showed it, they say that's the most beautiful artistic deed he did, because he's even himself. He did of himself. And I was amazed, and I wanted it to be everywhere.
Thank you for that, and thank you for considering sharing it with us. I would like to move on to another photo, and this photo is now done, or rather, this sketch work has been actually put onto a board that we will be selling actually online, and before we finish the session, we'll be giving you a link to how you can purchase this for yourself. But moving on, I would like to go into some of the photos he did for his book, and Nina, you can take us a bit through that. The book that he did for Vietnam, we'll also put a link on that. Is it possible to explain this?
Yeah, with this particular paperwork, it's like, you know, the butcher paper, something as thick as that. And when I was editing and sort of cutting the pictures, I left it with the burned out edges, because Teddy would burn naturally, like in real life, burn some of the pages once he did the artwork. So then he would use the particular skill of getting to use the shading of the ashes, and then he would use a pencil sketch over that to create really good images, because he's done the same for the two of them. But I didn't want to take away everything out of the techniques that he used, so I left the burned out edges, so then you could see how an artist, you know, gets to experiment with so many different things. And I was so awed when I realized that he did this, because it's not like a, you know, like a technique that you get online, or like a, you know, something that you can use to edit. This one is in real life. Like when you touch them, you get some bits of ash that comes out of the sides. And I was so happy to see that, because he wasn't afraid to experiment with, you know, flames, and then see how that helped with the shading. Sometimes he would even use it, he would say he used it under the paper, so then it would help very well with how the image came out once he drew it, and then he used different paints on it. So just remembering how I got to see so many prints like this brings back so many happy memories for me.
So
and
there
also
was
with this one, then there's a particular techniques of juxtaposition that he used. He would use soldiers and then the child. You probably see this child if you've got the book and you're looking through. You see this child used a lot, but then he'd use a soldier and then the child either in the background or the foreground. But then it'll be pencil sketching of the soldier, or maybe acrylic painting, and then he'll use a different type of paint for the kids. So then it will be like the two different colors, the soldier in the khaki sort of color, and then the child in yellow. So then they stand out to you. But then he wasn't just using a child, but the particular gesture of the child that he was using in the image. So then when you looked at it, it will be the eyes, the face. So then, you know, that emotional pull that you have when you're thinking of war, children who are grief-stricken, children who are stranded, children who are probably orphaned because they don't have parents due to that war. You'd be thinking constantly of that. And also the colors that he chose, they were very particularly strategic. And I love that particular aspect of looking at war using art, but not just like any other cut and paste sort of artwork, but he drew them himself.
Nice. What about this? I found this.
With this image, I remember it because I passed through it very quickly, because I remember when I was reading through and he was saying that he used the blue, the yellow, and the red as a way to sort of experiment with the way color captures your eyes. You know, with the blue, when you see the child, it's sort of like you think of calm, but then with the yellow and the red, it's very much, it's not aggressive, but it's very much at the forefront of what you're thinking, because the child looks into your soul as as you gaze at them, but at the same time you're aware of the different colors of the yellow and the red, and then there will be green now and then, because you think of the red, the blood of the war, and then the yellow will be more of like not really the sun, but it's sort of like the sunshine that can come after, you know, if the war ended, and the happiness that could probably follow.
Interesting. Leah, what did you think about this picture? I mean, it caught me off guard, honestly. If I didn't know the
Okay.
title of the book, I would be like, wow, what's this about?
I think for me, Ted was trying to demonstrate the different sadness in these children who are caught up in the war, and just to bring the emotions of every child, how they would have been in the war, and the sadness in their eyes. And looking at all those pictures, the eyes are different, and the way the children are looking at us. If you look at those children and look at the painting, the way Ted has put the colors, you can see every child is demonstrating in their own way, the current situation they are in the war.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because you had a very clear understanding of who Teddy was, who was the man?
Yeah.
If you don't mind telling us more about it. Who was the man? Because you talk a lot about the boy, but who exactly was the man? Teddy after university and all that.
Well, you mean in terms of his personality, or?
Exactly, his personality and what he was about, what he believed in. Because even when you look at his artwork, he's not shallow about his work. He's very deep within his work.
Wow. Teddy was a very serious young man, very serious into his work, from the word go, especially when he went into high school. He was very serious about it. He was a deep thinker. He had great vision of what he wants to do, and he was basically ahead of time. He was ahead of time. There is even one project that we didn't put here, where he did a project of how the mobiles are created. And he had all the techniques of how a mobile could be, and it's exactly the mobiles that you are using at the moment. We didn't even do that project. We did just the Vietnam one. Anyway, he was a deep thinker. He was very passionate on what he do. Obviously, it was a talent he was born with. So although I wasn't with his father, he was also an artistic, but because he was born in Kenya, that didn't come out, so it went to the child. And I think also it's in my family. So Teddy, as a man, he was very focused on what he did. Apart from very focused, he was a very hard worker. He worked round the clock. He would do the whole night and still wake up in the morning, continue going to school. He would work on a project. He was always awake. I was always in his room asking him, and then he would say, "You don't even get it, Mom. I need to finish this project." He was too passionate about his work, and he worked so hard, and he had a vision. He had high hopes. He knew where he wanted to be in his artistic industry. So that's why you see the details in his work. That's how much the man put his hard work on it. From the word go, from primary to high school, it continued all the way to the university. Wherever he was employed, although they didn't even pay him well, he would put so much effort into their project. I made noise all the time, but then he told me it's not about the money, Mom, get it. It's about the business I'm getting about it. I know where I'm going. I am going to build my industry where I have my own books, and I'll be having my own project on this. People will come to me. So anyway, the boy was a very serious boy, very focused, and very serious with his work. No jokes.
Thank you so much for that. Please, I would like to urge all of you who are listening in, please feel free to put in a chat, a comment, or a critique, or just anything, a question. If you have a question, please feel free to just add it into the into the chat wherever you're watching from. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So please feel free to just mention, and even on Facebook, please free just to mention what you like about these works and what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear about the man Teddy. You can actually Google him, Teddy Waihiga, Ephraim Waihiga, and I'll put the link in the chat in a few minutes. Nina, maybe you can tell us something about this one. I found it very compassionate. It was very emotional, I must admit. Just looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does target your heartstrings because he used a very particular way of using the paints. Because I think in the description it says that he used lightly the crayons, and then after that he used a different particular paint that brings out the red so well. And when you look at it, you look at the child's face, the eyes, and then the hand in the mouth, and you see the devastation of war in the child's face, because they look very sad and so heartbroken and helpless at the same time. And also with the burning again that he used on this particular paper, it makes the child feel quite isolated at the same time, because it's very much like everything is kind of like moving in onto the child, because he would use really, really huge particular prints of paper, but then this one is done until it feels like it's nearly confining the child. But it's the red that, even for me, like you said, you feel compassion for the child, because the red really does tell you about the bloodshed that was happening around the children and how much loss was happening in Vietnam during that time of war. And the eyes, for me, I would say they're the biggest, giveaway for me, because you see that sadness. It's really, it's not even something you need to look so much into to try and understand. It just hits you, and then the whole face just comes alive, and it shows a very big devastation that shouldn't have happened in humanity. And I feel that Teddy really captured it so well. And at the same time, we not just using soldiers but children, so then you can feel how much of a particular generation that comes after the adults suffers. And this image is one of them. It's beautifully done. It's very strong. You see it, you feel the pain and the hurt and the anger of war. And I applaud Teddy for actually having to, go through with this and really just explore war in so many different aspects and get to share that with us. And, not have taken his artwork and probably thought, it's not going to be worth anything.
Maybe as I even take a pause on the pictures, maybe you can tell us, Nina, why okay, actually let me ask the question better yet. What can you actually tell young people in Kenya, or even older people, doesn't matter the age, who are trying to get to speak through their art from Kenya? They're not in Australia, they don't have the opportunities, they're not in any other country, they're actually in Kenya. And I think, as it is, Kenya is still, even with the new government, a land of opportunity, in quotes, and we have things going on, and we have items. What word of encouragement can you give to young Kenyans just to know how to proceed with the work they're doing, especially in the creative industry?
Yeah. Mostly the one thing that universally is usually a big struggle is just, as a creative, it's hard for people to take you seriously, or some people sometimes think they need to wait on you until you make it big, and then they're like, oh yeah, so and so does this and does that. But as a young person, if you're in primary school, you're in secondary school, you're in university, or you finish university and you're thinking, I did the course for art and now I'm out here, I'm either doing pencil sketches, you're using acrylic, you're using paint, you're using watercolor, different types of paintbrushes, to get your oil paintings done so well. I usually say I would always say that don't ever wait for your art to be perfect, because perfection doesn't exist. And do the particular artwork that, when you go to, to paint, when you go to draw, when you go to paint, whatever makes you feel joyful, go with that. And then at the same time, don't ever throw away your artwork. That's the thing, because sometimes some artists usually will say, "Oh, I'm too young. I'm in high school. I want to throw it away because it's not good enough. It's like scribbles." I mean, I remember when I was in, class 1 to class 3, my chicken scribbles were always standing the other way around, and my grandma still kept them. So if I were to compare my work now, it would be really, really good. But never let that stop your progress. But at the same time, don't ever think that you have to be the person you'll be in 10 years' time for your artwork to be better. You are already doing the best thing you can ever do. Just keep it, always keep your artwork and always look at it and always think of it as, something that you're improving on. And also never not look for the person who does the same things as you or something similar as you. If you're an artist and you find other artists, it doesn't matter if maybe they do pottery or they do poetry or they write different things or this one paints. Go with that because that's your tribe. Because when you go with the right kind of people, that's when you realize that your artistic genius or just your artistic talent isn't something to be discarded, and you realize that you can feed off those people and they give you different ideas and they make you feel validated. Because when you're floundering and when you're lost or when you're stuck, everybody is really easily able to get in your head when they tell you, why don't you just go and study, be a nurse, be a doctor, be an engineer, be this, be that, be a lawyer, get into politics, but you just want to do art. So find the people who like to do something you like or to do with art and always go with them. Even if it's one of those old wababas, someone who used to want to do art, ask them. They will probably have a technique that you probably might like, but always find your tribe. If you don't find your tribe, you're most likely to give up. Even here overseas, if you don't find your tribe, you're most likely to give up. And then when you're 40, 50, you start looking back and you're thinking, time passed, or it's probably too late. And yes, I know Kenya is a growing place. It's got its growing pains and everything. But at the same time, I've got people that I've seen go back home and they found that particular tribe. Now it's coming up, when people do music festivals, music shows, art painting, or even some sip and paint classes. So we're seeing art being appreciated, because most of the time you go to the kinyozis, they have really great artwork done there. You go and see murals outside, everywhere. There is always great artists in Kenya, even on the magazines. They always have a particular, maybe even the weekend ones. You see really great artwork featured on there, and you think, oh, that artist is gonna be paid so much money. But they started somewhere like you. Don't ever think your artwork is not good. And the best thing of it all is we don't all do artwork the same. Ever. It's never gonna be the same. It doesn't have to be like that person. If it's your friend, your best friend, your sister, your brother, your cousin, do the artwork the same way you do it. And if possible, it's hard. If you find a particular way to hack and get into a library where you can check online, just check the other different artists, and then that's when you realize that some people, even when they do cartoon drawings and everything, they can draw the same thing different ways. So then you start realizing that the way you do artwork is the same way that everyone else will do it, because it makes them happy, but it comes out different. So Kenya will grow, but don't ever throw away your artwork and don't ever think it's not good enough, because when you look at it in 5 years' time, someone will want to get some of that. Someone will want to buy it. So don't give up.
So it just needs time. A bit of time and patience, I believe. Hello, Nina?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. You're back. You're saying it just needs a little bit of time and patience, I guess.
Yeah. Time, patience, but at the same time, believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself, because a lot of the times, maybe some artists want other people to believe in themselves. Just believe in yourself. Other people will come after. That's the only way to go.
Okay, good. Leah, what encouragement can you also give young men and women who are trying out their hand in the creative industry in Kenya and Africa as a whole?
Yes,
Would you?
good. As for me, um, when I look at my generation, let me talk about my generation. It's not quite well understood, and the artists in Africa are still.
Hello, Leah. Can you hear her, Nina?
Yeah, I can still hear you guys.
Oh, good. Thank you. Sorry,
But
sorry about that.
Liz is frozen.
Yeah, but I hope you can hear her. I think her video just got frozen for a few minutes.
No.
Okay, that's okay. Let's see. I seek to sort it out. Maybe you can mention something, Nina, on the next work. I
Yeah?
think it's changed a bit. Even as we go into it, let me just bring it up again. Okay, good. I would like to just skip this and go a
Yeah.
bit further into the pictures also, because he also did something and he worked with the pictures, even something just as simple as this, doing the cartooning. What can you tell us about this?
Oh, this picture is very heartbreaking actually, because this one is a sample from I think it's a Marvel cartoon magazine. No, not cartoon magazine. What do they call it? It's manga magazine. It's actually a look of a soldier who is bent over his friend who actually has died in war. And when I read this description, it actually took me a while to get back to it because you don't see it because you see one of the guys looking down, but then it's when you realize what the other soldier is holding, that's when you realize that war affects everybody. That's the one thing that Teddy was taking over because you can see how the green is used, like there's the lightness and the dark bit of it. But then you realize that despite them being in such a lush green environment, they actually are people who are losing other people who are very close to them, comrades, friends, sometimes even brothers, sometimes even cousins, or people who they've just met from different parts of the country, and they've actually created a really great camaraderie. But then loss in war was inevitable, but at the same time it wasn't just the people in that country who were losing, the kids, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the fathers, the mothers, but also the soldiers. And sometimes the one thing I like about this image is the fact that, sometimes you can think soldiers are supposed to be stoic, but in this particular image, you see the soldier crumpled down and holding the body of the fallen soldier in his arms. And you can imagine them crying and you feel that loss. It's really, really heartbreaking. But at the same time, I like the fact that he used this one in his artwork because it showed the other side of the war, because you usually think of soldiers as usually the people taking, with all the shots and everything, but you see the sad part of it too, because they also lose.
Thank you for that, Nina. What about the
Yeah, thank you.
next piece of artwork? What can you tell us about it?
This one
This
is
one is
an
an
acrylic paint work actually, and when you
and when
see
you
it in
see
real
it in real
life, it's
life, it's
really
really
beautiful
beautiful
texture
texture
because
because
the
the
green bits
green
are
bits are
rough, but
rough, but
then the
then
white
the
bits
white
are
bits are
very
very
much
much
smooth.
smooth.
And I
And I
like that
like that
bit about
bit
Teddy's
about
work
Teddy's work
because
because
it's a
it's a
soldier's
soldier's
face,
face,
but at the
but
same
at the
time,
same
the way he used to do the work, it was done in such a beautiful way that you didn't just feel the roughness of the paint that was used, but also the coloring, like the white and the orange of I think the soldier's hair. I liked the way he could highlight a particular person's expression or even a particular mood during that particular era in life using very different colors. But this particular image is really, really well done, even though when you touch it, it feels very rough, or when you look at it right now, it looks sort of like roughened. It's like it's got rough edges, but it's a face because it makes you have to step back a bit. So then you can see the soldier's face and the big hard hat that they used to wear in the wars. Sorry, I don't remember the name of those hats that they used to wear, but it's very well done. And I feel bad that people don't get to interact with Teddy's work in real life and actually be able to touch these pictures or these canvases, because the way the image looks here and the way it feels when you touch it, they're two different experiences, and they're very well preserved also, because with this artwork for the Vietnam War, it was done when he was in high school, so years ago, and still they're like the way they were done, like he did it last week or last month. All right, Leah, you're back.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'm back.
I was just saying, I guess it's one of those things that you really have to look keenly on and just wonder, wow, like
Yeah,
this
it
Yeah.
this
is.
this Teddy, what couldn't he do? I mean, just a bit about Teddy. It was also whilst in high school that he created a compelling body of works that he explored the effects of the Vietnam War as we were just going through it. Particularly in the close-up of faces, we can see the devastation wreaked by war. After graduation from high school in 2003, he attended Holmesglen TAFE in Chadstone to study for diploma of design. He then enrolled in a Bachelor's of Design at Monash University, graduating in 2010. In his final year, he was awarded a design award and was featured in the 2010 design degree show at Monash University. Leah, now that we can hear you, can you hear us well? Hello, Leah. Can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you well.
Yeah, she's probably frozen again a bit.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe you can tell us, Nina, as we go on with the works. Let me just pick another item so that you can go on with it,
Yeah.
because it's very impressive. Just some of the works that Teddy has done, and we'll be looking forward to actually be releasing them to the public. And every every cent will actually go to his memorial contribution, and we'll get to hear more about that from Leah.
Yeah.
Allow me to just put up the works again. Which was your favorite work, Nina, if I may ask? Do you have any top of mind?
It's hard to ask an artist that. It's like asking me to pick one of my favorite books. Um, I think I think his high school work, actually this whole Vietnam War um particular project is my favorite because it's not polished. He didn't have
Oh.
to work on a computer to do it. So this one he was working, and as you can see, even with this image, I left the descriptions that he put on he would cut particular images from a page, and then he would describe what it was supposed to mean in every particular bit of that, that particular big paper that he was using. And then every scenario and every scene would bring something else out of you. So I'll say this one is my favorite, the whole Vietnam War, and it's a lot of them. I think there are 100 of them, and I can't pick one because it's a big project, but as a whole, it's my favorite because he wasn't working to be an artist who wanted to be perfect. At that time, it was mostly just, then you can tell he was just a raw artist and he just wanted to go with whatever art, artistic way of expression, or whatever art way of expression that would get him to just pour out. So I can't say I'm going to choose because there's a lot. There's too many of them.
Please also tell us more about this. Actually, let me skip that. There's
Yeah.
one I want. This one, yeah. I found this very. I don't even know what to say, honestly.
It's two different. It's a watercolor. I actually liked seeing some of the watercolor paintings that he would use. It's similar to the soldier because it's a soldier facing forward with all of the luggage that they used to have to carry with them, and he's also holding a gun, although because the arms are the yellowy orange color. But the green is, the berets that they used to wear, and also the whole attire of the greenery, the camouflage attire that they used to wear, because in Vietnam it's very thick with greenery. So it was a way to be able to hide because it was a guerrilla war. So it was more of like, you won't see me coming until it's too late sort of tactic that was used. But he also, he didn't just draw the soldier and then say, well, try and understand it from that point of view. He put that particular painting, particular watercolor bit that is, it's not red, it's not pink, but it mostly symbolizes blood, because with them, it was mostly that everywhere the soldiers went, there would be bloodshed. It followed them, their thoughts, their actions, and then just the surrounds. It was everywhere. Like, it's like you just walked in a place that reeked of bloodshed, that reeked of loss, that reeked of devastation. And at the same time, you had to be brave, because as a soldier, it's not easy mentally to be able to do this over and over for long times. And they were there for years. The war wasn't over in a year or so. So I liked the way he didn't use color sparingly. He used a particular color you would be able to recognize straight away, like the green, but then the red was used strategically to be able to tell you what war is all about, or the particular big aspect that war brings about.
Brilliant. Let me pick another one. Let's see which one comes up. But thank you so much for being able to explain a lot of this stuff for us. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Once you look at it, you're like, wow. Let's see. I mean, there's so much to choose from. It's amazing.
Too many. That's why I can't choose myself.
Yeah, tell us about this mix. Tell us what's going on.
It's pretty plain and self out there, but at the same time, like I said, in this particular manga, they use a lot of the greenery of the surroundings during that particular war, and with the helicopters, you can see it's the way he chose that particular bit, because it has the helicopters, but it's not just one helicopter, it's a whole siege, so they're all coming in. It's sort of like, we have the upper hand and you guys don't. So it's not a particular segment that he chose that was all about maybe bravery, or particularly maybe bravado and winning something or being able to do something, but it's the whole sort of like the sense of annihilation that is coming. And then you see to the side a little bit, there is the soldier, in red, because the whole time it could have been green, but the soldier is shown in red, and you can just see it's a foreshadowing of the whole bit of, the bloodshed that is coming. And when you look, then you see the helicopters, and it really hits you how particular he was about choosing just that particular snippet to just cut and paste from that particular magazine. And I loved that about this segment, where we did just the magazine cutouts, because he didn't do anything about bravery that much, except the survival and the having the tough mentality in order to be able to survive war. But it was very much about showing how horrible war is, and how much they didn't have a chance, or they didn't have a fighting chance, and the invasion of a country that was, during the whole Vietnam War. And this is actually one particular aspect of it that does it so well, because when you see all those helicopters, you just think about all of the machine guns and how many people are going to get caught in that crossfire, and how much loss is going to be there. And you think the soldiers are going to survive because they're far off, but the people on the ground are not, and those are the natives of the country. So he was very much about exploring loss, but at the same time, he wanted to show not just loss, but the loss of a people, the loss of a time, and the loss of a generation, and how devastating that was. Because even to today, you still see the repercussions of the Vietnam War, wherever you go, when it's shown on TV, different tapes, or even, different artworks, or even when you do, different touristy tracks to go and see the place.
Thank you for that, Nina. It's just been amazing. I think we're having Teddy's mom come on board in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I hope.
That's good.
Yeah. Leah, can you?
Oh yeah, I think I can see her. She's moving around, so that's good.
That's a good sign. Leah, can you hear us?
She seems so frozen again.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
strange. I think I'll call her to be a bit closer, but maybe I can. Yeah, actually, her connection is really quite something. So maybe I'll invite her to my space to come and speak on behalf of everybody else. Let me see. But in the meantime, Nina, maybe you can take us through a few more as we close this up. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for even making time to go through them. Like, it's amazing the depth of knowledge you have in regard to Teddy's work. I see you worked on it for quite a lot.
It took a whole weekend to just be able to just go through them, let alone take the photos. And then you were struggling with getting to get them during daytime, so you get the right lighting. So then you didn't just do a shabby job.
Good. I hope you can see my screen again.
Yeah, I can see the screen again.
Good. I want to pick just a few other ones. Let me see. Yeah, good comment from guys. Yeah, maybe you can tell us this one, because I know it was also an inspiration for him. I know he's not the one who took the picture, but he used it as an inspiration. Maybe you can make us understand what is going through his mind in regard to this.
Oh yeah, this one is, actually it's a soldier from Papua New Guinea, which is one of the islands in between Australia and Southeast Asia, or southern part of Asia. And also it draws on the fact that, like, even Africa, we weren't immune to the war that was going on in Asia, because they were drawn into it. And at the same time, you can see how, the soldier looks a lot, but you can see also the fatigue of war as it draws on and on. And also looking at the you don't see him holding the machine gun. He's draped it around himself. He's well armed and everything, but he's draped it around himself, because after a while these machines get heavy. So you can see the fatigue, the exhaustion, and just the devastation that war takes on a person, because it's a big toll, emotionally, physically, and mentally. So to be able to have to be so alert all the time, and most of the time when it's a guerrilla war, you never know when your side is, compromised. So I like the fact that he added the Papua New Guinea soldier, because it shows us that the war wasn't just about America. And sorry, I think I heard you guys when you came in. So yeah, it shows that the war wasn't just about America and Asia, but it also included so many different people from the different continents in the world. And with Papua New Guinea, or some of the black, places in the world that get forgotten, this is one bit of the segment that I loved. It included us, even though they're a little bit removed from the, people who live in the islands, but it included the people who are much forgotten about, the heroes of the war in the World War I, Second World War, and the Vietnam War.
Good. Thank you so much. Allow me to just scroll quickly through this to allow people to see what was there. Good.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, it would be nice to have Teddy's mom to actually speak to us. Finally, she joined me.
Yes.
So pretty cool.
Yes,
I'll be here with her, and hopefully she can make a few comments even as we continue having this conversation. And just what I was asking was, what is an advice you can give to more Kenyans, especially young people, to just know? I mean, Teddy did this, and at nearly the prime of his life he went, but he did his part. How can you tell others to do their part without worrying about tomorrow and the moments and the thoughts?
That's the main reason that I wanted Teddy's work to come out, because I still think, especially in my generation, the people in my generation, they quite still don't understand what's all this about art and graphic design. And I can even tell when I try to explain even to them what they did, I can see the mystery in their eyes. And truly, Teddy did a lot of work to educate me. Lucky enough, I'm in a country where I can venture into it. He used to even to buy me books so that I can understand. And he went away still thinking I still don't get it. But he really bought me a lot of books to understand.
Okay.
Simply, Teddy explained, let me go back to the generation again. Let me stick on that. Okay. Especially in our generation and our parents and other parents, they believed the only way a child has done well if you're a doctor, a nurse, and you have to be like a matron or something. They called them here matrons. There they don't. They call them director of nursing. Mm-hmm. If you became a nurse, a doctor, or engineering, those careers, lawyers. But if you ever talked of an artistic, just drawing with a pencil. Now as time has gone on, I think it's a talent that still that generation needs a lot of it. And I can even tell, even when I try to explain to my siblings and all that, it is still a mystery chapter. And what did this boy really do and everything. But then for me, I'm okay about that. But then in general, the young people in Africa especially, and even the children that are being removed here and sent in Australia to do law, and then in the middle of it, they discover actually they are talented in something else. Still they are struggling to explain to the generation that this is really a talent and an industry that you need to look at. You see all those people in Hollywood, the people you admire in movies, do you know they are basically artistic? They are artistic, they created something, and this is something that you just don't look at and think that they created in their mind, and then they bring it to you, and then you go and watch those movies. Basically what they have created. The cars, the buildings, the road and everything, they were basically done by a graphic designer. They just drew a designer into you, and then you build the highways you got. Without a designer into it, you won't have the freeways, the cars, the buildings. Somebody sat with a pencil
and created the flags you see, then drew to the engineers without a graphic designer to come with that. It's something, they have it in their mind, then they created something that they are gifted with, they bring it into the world, and then that's how they demonstrate the work. For me, my desire is that we continue educating the generation, and that's why it's really my passion that the young people who are really creative, you look at the people who are creative, they're deep thinkers, they're serious. You see Nina there, she's a damn serious girl. They're really serious. Teddy was serious. Suddenly you could see Teddy smile. It came out, and when it came out, it was beautiful, but the boy was a thinker, like a serious. If you only touched one of it, I was prohibited touching any of these things. It's amazing that I'm the one selecting which things to go on the air. If he just came back, he would go back. You wouldn't believe it. I'm venturing into his artwork because he still thought, you don't get it, you don't even understand it. Why should I waste educating you on it? But I've understood more. So back to the young men and the parents, please don't encourage your children when you see them venturing into this area. It's a gift. It's a gift from God. This is one of the gifts. You can't just throw it away. And I think it should really, like the Vietnam book, my dream was somehow it's gonna get into a school, or it's gonna get into a graphics school where the people will see what another artist compared to the Vietnam War and how he applied his artistic work to describe the misery in the war. And every picture he brought, we didn't wipe his writing. If you can see his original writing, which was neatly done, he did all with that with pencil. So for me, that's why I really wanted that work to get out there, and it was not to be changed his writing. People were to see how he compared it. I think for me, for a school, is a very good education to see, and it's really empowering for especially for the African kids, especially the children that go overseas. Is really empowering that they see another artistic. Even the people who are there in diaspora, even in Melbourne, they still don't understand what my boy did. Today they still ask me, what did Teddy do? They still don't get it unless I bring it out there for them to understand. And the only closest person I found we can work with Nina, and she was passionate about it because she's an artistic and we worked together very well, and her front hips. So, and that's basically my passion, that where I hope people can understand, and even to my family, I hope they can understand, because especially in my family, there is a lot of artistic children in this family. Teddy is not the last one. I can even see them now, because I know how Ted came up, but I knew where Ted got it from. But it is in Waihiga's family as well, and I can see the artistic children coming up. Unless these children are really helped into that direction, and then admire the work Ted did, look at the work that Ted did, stay with that work. I'm gonna leave that work to them to see that. So it needs to be there in a way that it really helps children in Africa, and the children in diaspora, and the children in Kenya and Africa as a whole.
Wow.
It's an area that is not understood quite well, and to my generation.
Thank you so much. I mean, that should bring us to a close of this. Nina, you seem like the superhero, so that's a good thing. But that definitely brings us to an end of today's session, talking about Diaspora Edition. Today we talked about Teddy Ephraim Waihiga. The mom, at least, is here, so you can tell people bye. Bye.
Thank you, and thank you listening to us. I hope you take something from this.
Yeah, and Nina, you can also say bye to my people. Thank you guys for joining us. We've had quite a number of people joining us from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Please look into Arts Clean into Vietnam War. You can find it on Amazon. I've just put the link. You'll find it in the chat box, either in the chat or even just within this one that's being displayed right now. But you can find it. Just look for Arts Glen into Vietnam War on Amazon. Again, all proceeds go into his memorial, and just remembering the type of artist he was, as Leah has mentioned she would like the books in schools. So guys, make it happen. You know how we do it in Kenya. Make it happen, man. It would be nice to have this. But at least I've seen the books, and as we continue, we've even put the website where you can access some of his work, and you can link to some of his projects, and you can see some of his artworks. I would like to also finish by saying this program has been sponsored by Let's Create Africa and Startinev. Thank you so much, guys, for allowing us to do this. As you know, Startinev is an innovations ecosystem enabler, and Let's Create Africa is a communications social enterprise, all of them in Kenya. But I would also like to give many thanks also to KYR Africa, that's Know Your Rights Africa, to the Future of Work, to Soko, an e-commerce platform, and last but not least to Nina and Leah Waihiga, who made the chance to be here. Thank you so much, guys. It's been interesting. And Teddy, may you rest in peace. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yes.
God bless. Good evening.
Thank you,
all.
thank you, thank you.
Please feel free, guys, to put in your comments and reach out at any point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, Nina.